royal family is facing a real crisis right now since the king has been diagnosed with cancer. But where does Prince Harry fit into all this? Well, apparently not as well as he and Meghan had hoped.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the King YouTube channel.
Well, folks, technically I am supposed to be vacationing with my family right now, but there is just too much going on. I simply had to make a video to report all of this to you, my loyal friends. So, as you know, yesterday we got the news that the king was diagnosed with cancer. We're still not sure what kind of cancer. Buckingham Palace has not said. Now, we do know that it's not prostate cancer. Some people online are saying that it could be bone cancer or it could be bowel cancer because I guess typically both of those can be diagnosed when somebody's in there anyway for a prostate procedure. I think for now, there's no use in speculating, though, what type of cancer the king has. I think we can trust that he is getting the very best medical care out there, and he seems optimistic. Now, whether or not he's just putting on a brave face for the public, we cannot know, but at least we can trust in the king to take care of himself, and his doctors certainly know what they're doing. So I think we need to wait for more information on this before we rush to any conclusions. Now, basically, at the same time that we got the news that King Charles had been diagnosed with cancer, we were also seeing these reports that Prince Harry was traveling immediately to London to be with his father. Now, even from the beginning, I gotta admit, I was a bit skeptical as to why Harry was going. Call me a cynic, but something told me this wasn't simply about him going to see his ailing father. I think most of us felt the same way, that perhaps instead of just genuinely wanting to be with his father after this diagnosis, perhaps there was an ulterior motive to this visit, that maybe he and Meghan had discussed among themselves that now would be the perfect time for them to try to get back on as working royals, considering that right now royal family is facing a real shortage of people who can act as working royals. Now, I don't believe that the royal family is going to accept those two traitors back. They are delusional enough to believe such a thing is possible. Honestly, the puff pieces started being released basically as soon as we got the news that Harry was going back to London. We had this one in the Daily Mail as Prince Harry's return to duty the only way to boost the roster of working royals. He and Meghan have their critics, but they're the only younger family members cancer-stricken King Charles can call on with experience of public service. Harry and Meghan are the most experienced younger royals to step up. I mean, I still don't know why they insist on calling Harry and Meghan young. They're really not that young. Whether or not they're young has nothing to do with their suitability as working members of the royal family. They've already proven themselves to be completely unsuitable because they're a couple of traitors. That's what the problem is. It has nothing to do with their age. Honestly, this sounds like it came directly from Meghan Markle herself, since she always loves to go on about how young she is. She's just a young mom. Does she not realize how desperate she sounds with all that? Just so cringy. But anyway, whether or not Harry and Meghan are the only younger royals with working experience doesn't matter. Harry and Meghan have trashed the royal family. They have said basically they despise the monarchy, they despise everything it stands for. The people of Britain are never going to accept them back as working royals. Doesn't this sound like something Meghan would say? It begs the question of who can step in, and despite Harry and Meghan quitting as senior royals, they are the only available members of the family with any real experience of public duty. I do love this phrasing. Harry and Meghan quit their jobs as senior royals, as if that's all that happened, as if that is the one reason they might not be able to step in right now. No. If Harry and Meghan had quit their positions as senior royals and not gone on to trash the family for cash, I'm sure that they could be called upon to help right now. I'm sure the royal family would be very grateful for their help. But Harry and Meghan have proven they cannot be trusted. The royals cannot allow them to get close. This report in the Daily Mail goes on to state, with the three most senior royals out of action, the remaining working royals have an average age of 75. Royal watchers are questioning who could be brought into the fold to step up, with various younger members looked upon. Perhaps the most obvious choice is Prince Harry, 39, who has jetted back to the UK to see his father following his diagnosis. Okay. Is he though? Is Prince Harry really the most obvious choice to step in to help the family at a time like this? I don't believe so. I mean, Prince Harry, who is barely on speaking terms with any members of his family, William has already made it clear that he has no use for Harry. He's not interested in reconciling with him. And how awkward would that be if Harry's doing royal duties but William won't even speak to him? It's never going to happen. So argue there are more obvious choices. I mean, Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, while they are not perfect, especially Eugenie, I mean, Beatrice, I think, could be a good idea to step in right now. Eugenie, I don't know. She's a little too close to the Harkles for comfort, but Beatrice, I think, has a good head on her shoulders, relatively speaking. Other good choices could be the obvious Zara and Mike Tyndall. I mean, just think about it. They're young, they're fit, they're sane, they're hard workers. They could easily handle the workload, and they're also pretty popular with the public. Arguments I've heard against Zara and Mike are pretty silly, actually. Basically, the only arguments I have seen against them being working royals are that Zara and Mike are somehow inappropriate because they're not really senior royals and they're too close to ordinary citizens. I certainly hope that right now Harry is not mentioning any possibility of him returning as a working royal. I mean, how inappropriate would that be? Right now, if you ask me, Harry needs to be on his very best behavior. He better not put a foot wrong. Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliam said, I'm sure Harry will put aside the past right now for this serious issue. The royal family, including the Sussexes, it's so important that everyone is pulling in the right direction. This piece in the Daily Mail also consulted Christina Kyriakou, the king's former press secretary, and she said, Charles adores Harry. He didn't want any of this estrangement. If out of bad news some good news comes and Harry and the king and queen and his brother are reunited, how wonderful. But see, no, I don't believe the royal family is going to be so foolish as to fall for Harry and Meghan's little plot. I mean, even in this article, we've got, quote, the feud between the royals is thawing, with Harry and Meghan said to be keen to get back into the royal fold. And with a lack of options, Harry could step up to royal duty full time. Looks like Megan is manifesting again. She needs to understand, though, just because she puts something out there in the media doesn't make it true. Just because we're seeing reports that Harry could be called upon to step up in this time of need, it doesn't mean that the royal family is actually going to ask him. I think it would be a really bad idea, actually, and I don't think that William is going to allow that to happen. Now, maybe Charles would if left to his own devices, but see, William is not willing to forgive Harry. To really underscore just how unlikely it is that William is going to be able to forgive Harry, let's shift our attention to this piece in the Daily Mail. We've got Tom Sykes writing that Harry and William reconciliation total fantasy, source says. Despite Harry's transatlantic dash to support their father, a source says it is highly unlikely that the brothers will meet, with relations between the pair still non existent. Many people indeed got very excited when they heard that Harry was coming back to England. They thought, oh, the royal family is finally going to reconcile. Finally, Prince Harry and Prince William are going to find some common ground. They're going to both be there to support their father, and they're going to be a happy family once again. Well, not so fast. There's just too much bad blood between the brothers at this point in time. I understand why William is hesitant to forgive Harry. Of course he would be, especially after everything Harry and Meghan have said about William's beautiful wife Catherine, and especially at a time when Catherine is unwell. I'm sure that William is more protective of her than ever. Indeed, Tom Sykes writes, while there had been some speculation that Harry's arrival in the UK to be with his father after his shock cancer diagnosis might lead to a rapprochement between the brothers, informed sources have uniformly urged caution at such speculation to the Daily Beast. Sykes writes, William is understood not to have spoken to his brother since the publication of Harry's memoir Spare, which made multiple highly personal criticisms of William and his wife Kate. It subsequently emerged that Harry believes Kate and Charles were the people who raised concerns about the likely skin color of Harry and Meghan Markle's then unborn first child, Prince Archie. Palace sources told the Mail there were no plans for a meeting between Harry and William, with William focused on caring for his wife and children as Kate recovers from abdominal surgery and preparing for his first day back doing public facing duties tomorrow. However, a source close to Harry struck a conciliatory tone, telling the outlet the Duke's primary reason to travel to the UK is to visit his father. If the opportunity were to arise to see the Prince of Wales, then the Duke would have gladly accepted it. How pitiful is that? If the opportunity were to arise, then he definitely would have accepted it. Well, it sounds like the opportunity certainly didn't arise. And another thing is, if Harry expects to make peace with his brother, he's got to be more definitive in his actions. He's got to go to his brother. He's got to apologize. He has to be the one taking the first step. He can't just wait for William to let him know, yeah, I'm ready to see you now, Harry. Harry has got to be more proactive. And even then, it might not be enough. It might be that Harry simply has done too much. There's too much bad blood at this point. The brothers can never reconcile. That could be the case. And if it is, well, Harry has to accept that. It is true, you reap what you sow, and Harry has got to understand that his actions do have consequences. He said some horrible stuff about his brother. He revealed some private information about his brother's penis, for God's sake. I don't blame William one bit if he never forgives Harry. Somebody who claims to be an old friend of both William and Harry told the Daily Beast. The news about their father is absolutely shocking, but I don't think it means William wants to meet up with Harry and shake hands for the cameras. If the papers want to write that, they are going to be having pints together and a heart to heart they will. But in reality, the idea that William and Kate are ever going to let Harry back into their lives or trust him with any personal information ever again is a total fantasy. It's simply not possible to exaggerate how bad and how damaged the relationship is, and how angry William is at Harry for betraying him for money. It doesn't sound like William has any feelings of confusion over how he wants to handle this whole Harry situation. And I think that William is showing his strength in this way. I think that William is showing that he's not going to be pushed around by Harry. He's not going to fall victim to Harry's lies ever again. He doesn't care if Harry wants back in. Unless Harry makes some real changes in his life, and the first one would be leaving Meghan Markle, William is not going to be able to move past this. I think this is a very wise decision by William, because William realizes that as long as Harry and Meghan are still together, any attempt to get back into the royal fold is simply an attempt to get more information to sell to the highest bidder. That's all it is. Meghan and Harry cannot be trusted. Sykes goes on to write, asked if his father's illness would not concentrate the mind on the importance of family bonds, the friend said, "This isn't just two guys falling out. The point is, Harry betrayed the monarchy. He can't be trusted. He is." A former staffer who worked with Harry and William told the Daily Beast, "I gather it is considered highly unlikely that they would meet. The relationship is non existent because of the allegations made against his wife." What were they thinking? I mean, really? Why did Harry and Meghan think that it was going to be a good idea to attack Catherine of all people? Catherine, who is the beloved English Rose, who is the star of the monarchy. Why did they think that going after her was going to somehow score them brownie points, make them more popular, make them the favorite royals all of a sudden? Of course not. Instead, it all backfired. Nobody believed the lies they told about Catherine, and all they did was destroy the relationship, probably forever, between William and Harry. Anyway, it sounds like this little visit back to London to see his father did not have the effect that Harry was hoping for. I'm not sure if you've seen the news yet, so let me deliver it to you. That little visit only lasted 45 minutes. So Harry flew basically all night long on a British Airways flight to get to London, and then once he got there, he spent less than an hour with his father before his father had to head to Sandringham for an already scheduled visit. According to the Mail Online, the Duke of Sussex flew more than 5,000 miles yesterday from his home in California to London for what ended up being a 45-minute meeting with his cancer-stricken father, King Charles. Harry did not spend the night in any royal residence, with him being effectively homeless on UK soil since his eviction from Frogmore Cottage last year, and it is thought he may have instead stayed in a luxury hotel. He is not expected to stay in London for long and is set to return to his Montecito home in Los Angeles that he shares with his wife Meghan Markle and two children Archie 4 and Lilibet 2 following his whistle-stop visit. Well, I can only assume that last bit came directly from Sussex PR. Just had to mention the invisible children in case we forgot. And then they go on to write the Duke is expected to join Meghan in Canada next week for an event to commemorate a year until the Invictus Games in Vancouver and Whistler. It's difficult not to jump to conclusions about Harry's little visit, right? I mean, a 45-minute meeting with his cancer-stricken father, and he's already planning to head back to LA? Well, why did he even bother coming? It makes me believe that he had a hidden agenda this whole time. He was planning to come back and ask for his job back, and when his father told him, "No, I'm sorry, son, that simply can't happen," he decided to pitch a fit like a little baby, as he always does, and say, "Well, I'm going to go back to California and be with Megan then." certainly hope that is not what happened. I certainly hope that Harry was respectful towards his father. I hope that he showed some care. I hope that he wished his father well and understood that his father couldn't possibly change his whole schedule to accommodate Harry. But again, this is Prince Harry we're talking about. Prince Harry is not a sane, rational, mature person. I wouldn't put it past Harry to cause his father even more stress during this short meeting. All right, my friends, and now for a bit of discussion time. So, today we're going to be talking about the responses that you all left to the video titled Netflix Dumb Toxic Sussex Desperate Meghan and Harry Won't Let Go After Huge Snub. In this video, we were talking about why on earth Netflix would continue to work with these two losers. They don't have any good ideas, but there is a Netflix boss who has been speaking out saying that Harry and Meghan have these projects in the works and Netflix has no plans of canceling their contract. I'm not convinced, but let's see what you all had to say. And also in this video, I'm really going to be highlighting the comments that you all left about what's happening right now with King Charles's cancer diagnosis and Prince Harry's return. Okay, first up, let's look at a comment from user ET2. This user writes, "It's sad that Harry had to publicly announce that he is visiting his father, the king, after his cancer diagnosis. Why couldn't Harry visit his father privately like Prince William? I hope Harry's visit is sincere and out of genuine concern, and that he doesn't even mention Meghan and start on with all the BS. If Harry does start carrying on, I hope Harry ends up in the dog's bowl again and stays there. I will light a candle and pray for our king's recovery." Isn't it sad, though? See, I believe if this really were a genuine visit for Harry to check on his father and tell him he loves him and wish him well, we wouldn't have seen it broadcast all over the news. I do believe, like you, that this was a ploy. This was a ploy of him and Meghan to try to get back in with the royals, and it's never going to happen. Next comment that I would like to share comes from Can't Explain. Can't Explain writes, Netflix, wake up. We don't want and will not watch anything else you put out with these two grifters. They are toast. When is Netflix going to realize this? We've got some replies too. Mari Combe writes, is it possible the royal family is helping keep them on at Netflix to give them some income? I'll address that after I read what Carol had to write. Carol writes, oh, come on. Do you really think that? As if they want to be trashed any more than they already have with those two simpletons? Really? That's laughable. No way. Carol, I got to agree with you on this one. I mean, it is an interesting idea, but I don't believe it because this Netflix deal has done the royal family no favors. I mean, just think back to the Harry and Meghan docuseries in which Meghan performed with that really offensive fake curtsy and also they referred to the Commonwealth as Empire 2.0. So no, I don't believe the royal family are big fans of this deal Harry and Meghan have with Netflix. Next up, let's hear what Carol Prey has to say. Carol writes, I will not watch or buy anything that has to do with Harry and Meghan. I canceled Netflix when they signed them and haven't resubscribed, and I won't. Netflix showed that they have no interest in the truth, just how much money they will make. While on some level I know and understand that, having it right in your face is a whole new level. It makes you wonder how many other real stories and deep dives on Netflix contain anything close to the truth. Or are they all just like Harry and Meghan's wine fest? Carol, I believe a lot of Netflix's documentary work is absolute BS. Now, I'm struggling to remember the details of it, but you remember that Tiger King show that came out. Apparently, a lot of stuff in that was also completely made up. I mean, they don't bother doing their research, you're right. They just want to make money. Tia writes, same with me. Since they still subscribe to the Sussex Lies, I'm not watching any Netflix movies or documentaries or any show ever. And Janine writes, same here. Cancelled it right after that trash was aired. Well, I think you all made the right decision to cancel your subscriptions. That sends Netflix a message louder than anything we write or say can. Next, let's see what user Candace Jensen has to say. Candace writes, Harry made a statement during one of his pity party interviews stating, This is my home now, USA. Well, here is the problem. America does not have titles. America doesn't want titles. America fought a war to eliminate titles. So if you want a title, you are going to have to go somewhere else. I'm sure there are an abundance of people willing to pay your way one way out of here. I know I would be happy to contribute to the cause. I would too, Candace, honestly. Harry doesn't respect American values. Remember when he called our First Amendment bonkers? A statement was just a bunch of hot air anyway. Harry said it more recently that he still considers the UK to be his home. So which is it, Harry? Where is your home? Yes, wherever people are going to accept you and put up with your BS, but so far, doesn't look like there's anywhere on Earth that fits that description. Fortunately, though, he is a legend of aviation, so maybe he can ask Elon Musk about that trip to Mars. Next up, let's see what user Kate London has to say. Kate writes, Netflix reminds me of somebody with a gambling addiction who keeps pulling the slots at the casino hoping to strike it big because they won a few dollars once. I think Netflix feels like they've spent so much money on them already, they can't just walk away and admit they made a huge mistake and got scammed by the grifters. Something tells me they are all overgrown frat boys at Netflix and nobody has any common sense. It's all ego, one-upping each other and hormones there. I doubt they have one mature woman making decisions, and if they do, she needs to speak up and tell these little boys to put their yardsticks away. The pissing contest is over. They need to do what Spotify did, cut their losses and run. Kate, I couldn't agree with you more. The bad thing is, though, that Netflix boss who spoke up in defense of Harry and Meghan apparently was a woman. But see, even women, way too often these days, I think, just to subscribe to this little boy mentality. They think aligning themselves with these powerful but immature men is going to make them more money in the long run. Well, of course it's not. They end up being screwed over just like everybody else. In fact, I think the women all too often end up taking the fall for the bad behavior shown by the boys. Finally, there are a few comments that I have to share. So we've got Sandra writing, if Netflix are keeping them on for another year, what does your title mean? Also, I thought Netflix owned the rights to that film. I think Netflix does own the right to that Meet Me at the Lake film. I don't really believe that Archwell has been given that, but maybe I'm wrong. Sue Clark writes, Netflix, accept that Harry and Meghan are a burden and dead weight at this point. The ones doing all the work are Netflix, not the work-shy Harkles. Too much time and effort going into trying to make these two into something. I agree with you. They should do a documentary about their grifting and moon bumping. There's plenty of content out there for it, and it could be a financial winner. I imagine it would also be an easy and rather satisfying project for Netflix. Again, this is the project I really hope that we get to see from Netflix. I'm not going to rule it out. Britta writes, is that why Harry is hot-footing it back to England? Is the King's cancer diagnosis the next Netflix story? Britta, it's a really cynical thought, but I wouldn't put it past him. And that could explain why, since he only got 45 minutes with his father, now reportedly he's heading back to LA already. Paula writes, in my opinion, Harry is just going to see his dad, King Charles, to beg for money and for Meghan and the Invisibles to be included in King Charles's will. Also, in my opinion, Harry is going to try to plant recording and hidden cameras to get footage for Harry and Meghan's new docuseries. Instead of focusing on King Charles' recovery, Harry and Meghan, in my opinion, tried to make King Charles's illness about themselves. Best wishes to King Charles with his treatments. That's exactly what Harry and Meghan are doing, and that's why, as soon as we heard the news about King Charles's diagnosis, we started seeing all these puff pieces claiming that basically the royals have no choice now but to accept Harry and Meghan back as working royals. Oh, come on. That information is coming straight out of the Harkle zone. And then a comment from Janie Leach. Janie writes, another dose of Harry and the Meg. Do they not realize that people don't like them as much as they like themselves? We are sick to death of any and all coverage. It feeds into their we are so loved idea. Blah, blah, blah. Goodbye. It does seem like Harry and Meghan still have not gotten it through their thick skulls that we don't want to see more of them. We want to see a lot less. All right, my friends, that is all the time that we've got for now. So please let me know below in the comment section, what do you think of Harry's quick trip back to the UK to see his father? Do you believe he really just wanted to check on him? Or was he angling for some kind of new position for himself and Meghan Markle? Let me know what you think. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to like and share it with anybody else who would appreciate it too. And please don't forget to click that subscribe button. As I mentioned before, I'm on vacation with my family for a few days, so please be patient with me. If the videos seem like they're covering old topics or maybe they're not being uploaded as usual, that's why. Headed back home next week, and then it will be back to business as usual. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for tuning in. You have a lovely day, and I'll be back to see you in the next videos.